the race for the bottom half of the 8 is absolutely on, with teams stumbling over each other in hope of getting into that bottom half of the 8 and make finals, as it looks like we have a sort of clear-cut top 3 or 4 teams, and then the rest are just really poor against those teams around them, but beating up on the really poor sides. But anyway, let's jump into the tips for round 13, as well as reviewing how I went in round 12. So, first up, Brisbane against Essendon to start off Thursday last week. And Brisbane, as you would have seen actually last week when we did the tips, we always do them on a Friday now, just to spread out videos. And you would have seen this result being tipped. And Brisbane ended up winning it by 18 points. So I was well off, as I had them up by 50. Not the best tip. Then Collingwood, I had them winning in this game, but I only had them by 23. They ended up winning by 51, so I was 28 points off there, and some of the margins in this week have not been the greatest. Then I thought Gold Coast at People's First Stadium, and this is basically what I'm saying, is that even if you look at the long run teams, you see, I think Collingwood are the out and out favourites at the moment. They're on 10 wins. Then you've got Brisbane on 9 wins and a draw. And then Adelaide really is where it starts to drop off a little bit. I would say Adelaide, Gold Coast and Geelong are sort of all in that same category. But because of finals experience, you put Geelong there with probably in third. But those top 3, and then you sort of get, it's really a fall off after that, especially outside of the top 5. Like the bottom 3 of the 8 are really where it falls off, because Hawthorn have played that extra game compared to most, I would say, given that they've had no bye and have already played their Thursday night game. So if we're just looking at that ladder now, if GWS and Fremantle win, then Hawthorn go to the bottom of the 8, you would expect, or near enough to the bottom of the 8. And so, yeah, there is a gap starting to create between maybe the 8, you would say, if GWS and Fremantle win. But it's not, you can kind of see they're all clambering over each other, I would say. But Gold Coast, that was a really surprising loss to Fremantle. I had Gold Coast by 26, and this is what I'm sort of saying about these sort of these teams in and around that sort of 5th to 10th spot. They're all sort of clambering over each other and losing games that they really should have won. And this was that Gold Coast game, and I had them by 26. They ended up losing by 11, so that's 37 points off there. Then we get to GWS against Richmond. I had GWS by 53, and I was 50 points off because they forgot how to play basically for 3 quarters and were down something like 25, 27 points at 3/4 time, and then came back and just ran straight over the top of Richmond, who I don't know if they even scored in the last quarter. It was that much of a demolition job from GWS, who just basically played half court footy in the last quarter there, and ended up winning it by 3 points late, as they kept, it was a final term of 5-2 to 1 behind. So they were down 3-10, 28 points at 3/4 time, and came over the top and won the game. Then we get to the Sydney Swans versus Adelaide. I had Adelaide by 33. I thought that was a really sort of fair prediction through a potential bias, and they ended up winning by 90. It was a bad day for Sydney, lost the VFL by 94 points, including an 11-0 last quarter, and then ended up losing the AFL by 90 points about 4 hours later. So yeah, that was a really bad day for them, and yeah, the margin was pretty hard to sort of predict there, as I ended up 57 points off there, which is not the greatest outcome. Then you've got Melbourne against St Kilda. I had Melbourne in this game by 21 points, and they just didn't turn up. They kicked 7-21 to St Kilda's 14-7, I want to say. So they just couldn't kick straight, and they ended up losing by 28 points, which means that I was 49 points off for the margin. And then that puts the margin, even the cumulative margin, really far out for this round, because we basically had no tip. The best tip that I've had in terms of margin is 28 points this round. And then you've got Geelong versus West Coast. And I say that, the tips are bad this round. I actually had Geelong by 43 points. And if you look here, they won by 43 points. So I was actually on the absolute nose with that tip, which is, I think, one of the first tips of the year that I've gotten dead on. And of course, it happens in the game you would expect to have the biggest blowout for the round almost. Other than, I think, Brisbane versus Essendon was the other one that I would have predicted a bigger blowout. But yeah. The GWS Richmond was supposed to be a big blowout, but you can just see that really was surprising that was a big, that was actually a correct tip down to the point. But anyway, on to round 13, and I think Geelong's actually a team I've been able to relatively tip pretty well. So anyway, I tipped round 13. Let's quickly just write this out here. I tipped the Dogs by like 40 odd points here. You can see 39 points last night. They didn't win. They were horrific. Their midfield got smashed. I don't know why you put your best contested mid in Liberatore at halfback just to put an underdone managed minutes Treloar on the field, and the Bulldogs basically paid for it, and that could be the difference. That could be an 8-pointer there where Hawthorn struggled to make finals and Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn would have struggled to make finals, I should say, but now because of that win, they get effectively 8 points. 8 points plus a percentage booster on the likes of Western Bulldogs. I mean, the percentage booster isn't going to matter too much, but that would have flipped percentages by 6, 7, 8%, given what occurred, and that Hawthorn would have gone up and Western Bulldogs down. So that's a huge flip. That's a huge flip, and that could be the difference between Western Bulldogs making finals and not. And we've seen this countless times. Let's just look at the AFL ladder. 2024. Let's look at the AFL ladder in 2024. You'll see that the Bulldogs finished 6th, but they were 1 win away from 4th. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to find matches in 2024 where they could have won. 2023, let's even do that. AFL.com.au. We go fixtures 2024, and then we filter for the Western Bulldogs, and you will see that they would have lost some games that they really should have won. Let's just look through. Probably you'd say another game against Hawthorn that they probably should have won in round 8 last year, alongside games against they probably should have competed more in this Sydney game, as well as, did they lose any obvious games? Doesn't really look like they did. They lost to Adelaide when Adelaide were going strong, and lost to Hawthorn in the final round, lost to Hawthorn in finals itself. But yeah, they lost to Hawthorn like the last 2-3 times. But yeah, they've lost countless games where they should have had a better shot. 2023 is more elaborate. I can tell you that I'm pretty sure it was 2023. Yep, finished 9th. And yeah, they would have made finals if they had beaten, I believe I'm right in saying that it was the West Coast Eagles that they lost to here. So they've done it before there as well. They lost to Hawthorn by 3 points. Again, losing to Hawthorn, it's something that pretty much means that they stuff up their season. They lost to GWS as well. They've lost losable games, Sydney by 2 points in that year as well. If they'd won that would have been that would have gotten them into finals. 2022, I think you can see a similar fate as well. They've done it countless years, and it's really poor. If we look at 2022, they finished just in finals by 0.6%, but they probably could have made finals even better. But that they did their job, I guess, getting into 8th place. 2021, they finished 5th and missed the top 4 double chance by a little bit. And then 2020, they've done it again, probably in 2020, where they finished 7th, and then 2019 as well. So they've never really actually made the top echelon of teams. I would say they finished 7th again that year, and they were pretty far off of top 4. But yeah, you can just sort of see they've never really competed at the top end. And then where did they finish in this year? They finished 13th. They finished well off in 2018 as well. So yeah, interesting to see what's happening with Western Bulldogs, but it just looks dour at the same time. Like, they're 1-6 against the top 8, I think, and they've really just beaten up on the bad sides. Adelaide against Brisbane. I'm surprised Adelaide's massive favourites in this game, to be honest with you. I know Brisbane's gone through a sort of rough patch, but I feel like they're just starting to find that form again. They beat Hawthorn. They did lose to Melbourne, which was weird. But yeah, Adelaide as well. They lost to Collingwood. They beat West Coast pretty convincingly, and they smashed Sydney. But Sydney are basically struggling as far down as they could struggle against Richmond this week. So there's that. Adelaide against Brisbane. Who am I gonna? I'm probably gonna tip just with the home crowd. I'm gonna tip Adelaide in this game. I'm not gonna tip them by much because I don't think that they blow this game out. I'm gonna tip Adelaide by 12 points, I think. Then we get to Richmond against Sydney. I kind of want to tip Richmond just because Sydney do have a really good backline this week. Like, if you look at the lineups, their backline's actually probably one of the best, and it probably should allow Blakey to be able to run off the backline a little bit more than he has done in the past. I am going to tip Sydney, but I don't think it's going to be as beautiful as it should be, given the positions of the teams 12 months ago. Well, I mean, this time 12 months ago, Richmond actually beat Sydney, so there's that, but I think Sydney win this one by 11 points in a just horrific display of, like, defensive footy from both sides. Geelong against Gold Coast. Gotta pick, I think, Geelong down at their home place. I don't know if Gold Coast have travelled the best this year. If we go here, they lost at the Gabba, one at TIO, one at Marvel Stadium, and then lost at People's First. So they've actually done exactly the opposite of what I thought they'd done. But yeah, it's interesting. I think they're still 4-1 at their home grounds this year, and that would leave them to, I think, be something like 3-2 away from home. But yeah, I think that Geelong are just going to be able to win this game pretty convincingly against Gold Coast, as Gold Coast really did struggle last week, and Geelong are just sort of running through the motion at the moment, getting into Geelong will get into finals in like 4th or 3rd place and then just run it from there, I think. But yeah, I'm going to go Geelong in this game by 22 points. And then you've got GWS against Port. Port are an absolute they're really, really poor. And so I think that GWS are able to just run over the top of them. I'm going to go GWS by 24 points. I just think that, the Port Adelaide, they seem to have lost this ability to kick scores, it feels like. If I go back down to Port, you see that they kicked 51, 39, 89, 84, and then also 41, and then 97. They probably averaged about 70 points in their last 5 weeks, if not less. Then you've got North versus West Coast. Going to tip North in this game. I just think that their midfield is a lot better than West Coast, and I think they win this one, and I'm going to tip them by I think it will be a scrap fest, but I'm still going to tip North by 19 points. Then you have Carlton against Essendon. Carlton should be winning this one realistically, but watch Essendon find a way. I don't know what it is with Essendon having everyone injured, but they seem to find a way. But I think Carlton are able to win this one. But if it does become a scrap fest, and if it is close at 3/4 time, expect Essendon to be able to run over the top of them. But Carlton are coming off the bye as well, which should help them fitness-wise, but they still do collapse. So I expect to see, the funny thing is I expect to see Essendon out in front at quarter time, Carlton out in front at half and 3/4 time, and then it's just dependent on is that margin close at 3/4 time, or is it like that 4 or 5 goal margin where Carlton can hang on? But I'm going to go Carlton in this one by 10 points. And then you've got Collingwood. Collingwood will smash the likes of Melbourne, I think, on the King's birthday game, and they're going to be able to win this one by 35 points. I just think that their performances around the ground are a lot smoother than Melbourne. Melbourne have quite a lot of just role plays that aren't too good. But anyway, those are the tips for round 13 of the AFL season. If you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be the game review of Thursday night's Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn game. So I'll see you guys in that one. Bye, guys.